So the Switch 2 has finally released and social media is abuzz with pictures of midnight releases that look like madhouses. People are showing off their Switches, some were cosplaying in celebration. The GameStop I pre-ordered from said they were also having a midnight release, which would have a Mario Kart 8 tournament and they were going to show the Mario Bros movie. It sounded like it was going to be a lot of fun. I planned on going, so I went there on Wednesday afternoon to pay the console off. When I got there, there was a pretty long line. Probably not nearly as long as other lines in bigger cities, but long enough for me to be like, See, I'm really not a big crowd person, so when they asked if I was coming later, I said I would pick it up the next day. And then I'm watching other YouTubers, and they're talking about how amazing their midnight release was, and how fun it is, and how these types of releases never really happen anymore, and yeah, I started to regret it. In retrospect, I probably should have gone, but maybe next time. I know I'm lame. Fast forward, and here it is. The Switch 2 with Mario Kart World, and I also picked up a GameStop branded screen protector and a Switch 2 Pro controller. See, since it says Pro on it, I know that it can handle my amazing skills as a professional gamer. Anyway, I went in and unboxed the Switch 2, and much to my surprise, the box was empty. No, actually, I already took the stuff out and was too lazy to put everything back in the box. That and I couldn't figure out how to get the grip to fit like it was when I opened it. It's not like I came up with a better way to present this video with the table and stuff after the fact, but even if I did, do you really think I would resort to such trickery for a video? I mean, what kind of charlatan do you take me for? Anywho, besides the hookups, the Switch 2 came with the Joy-Cons, grip, and while I was presenting the items, Louis came by and saw that I was making a video. So I asked him if he wanted to join. He said, Louis, and nodded. So I let him sit there. Here's the dock, which is a bit curvier than last gen. As you can see, it has a flat front, and on the back it has rounded corners that look and feel really nice actually. Here are the USB ports, and like the Switch OLED, the back pops off. Inside the back, it has the same stuff. It has the adapter port, the HDMI hookup, and it's hard to see, but there's also an Ethernet port, which the first Switch model didn't have. I'm glad Nintendo included this straight away rather than include it in a newer model because not everyone has Wi-Fi readily available, and it's always good to have an alternative, so good on Nintendo for that. So here's the unit itself, and for good measure, since it's a Switch 2, I made sure to point at the 2 and focus the 2 on the camera. Sometimes I'm too much. Then there's some rubbery looking things that I think are supposed to be the wrist straps. I thought it looked like they had screaming faces on them, like they were scared because they heard how gamers take care of their stuff and realized they'll inevitably get covered in gamer cheese and sweat and eventually get lost. If you worked at GameStop like I did, you know how true this is. I think someone in Nintendo had a sense of humor when they came up with these, or maybe it's just a funny coincidence. Speaking of coincidences, I dropped that. Well, that's another traumatized wrist strap, and I'm not helping the stereotype. Finally, the Mario Kart World code card, because everything has to be digital and console makers are too cheap to include a physical game to make it feel special. With everything laid out, I dusted off my shelf, moved a few things and wires, cursed a bit and questioned why I live the way I do for the umpteenth time. I placed the Switch 2 dock, and there it is. With the Switch 2 dock situated, I proceeded to apply the GameStop branded screen protector I paid $15 for, and after about 15 minutes of applying and repositioning it to get it on without bubbles, eventually I accidentally turned the thing on, so I said F it and gave up. I'm sure the gloves didn't help either, but even without them, these things are so hard to apply cleanly, and I've only done it like once successfully. If anyone in the comments can give me tips on how they get them on cleanly, I would really appreciate it. After my subpar attempt to protect my Switch 2, I tried putting the Joy-Cons on the Switch 2, and holy crap. They snap on so beautifully. That jolt in my hand I did there, that is not for show. That's how surprised I was when they snapped right on, and it is satisfying. So I docked the Switch and began setting it up. With the grip in my hand, Louis, with assistance, put on the red Joy-Con, and I put on the blue Joy-Con. We went through the process and got to the Wi-Fi part. I didn't remember our Wi-Fi password, and I realized it was on my phone that I was filming with, so I tried to get the password without taking the phone off the tripod because I'm lazy. Unfortunately, I couldn't, so I huffed and got the password from my phone. Then I went to transfer my Switch's data. It asked me to log into my Nintendo account and had me scan a QR code to log in, which again required me to take the phone off the tripod because it blocked what I needed to tap. I logged in, then for some reason it asked me about transferring data and logging in again. I just wanted to play, so I pressed don't transfer, and it said I wouldn't be able to transfer later, just because. So once more, I had to take the phone off the tripod again and log into my Nintendo account because once I finally got the process started, I waited a bit, and then it told me that it will import screenshots and videos from the Switch 1's microSD card. To do this, I had to insert the microSD card into the Switch 2, and afterwards remove it, and after all that, we finally got into the homepage, which had Crunchyroll and Super Mega Baseball 4 that I never played, but I hear is good. Yeah, this regular Switch I use mainly for watching YouTube and anime. I traded in the one I game with, you see. I checked out the news stories before logging into eShop, and the first thing I did was buy the Switch 2 Welcome Tour. Why? Because I am a sicko and a part of the problem. I then redeemed my Mario Kart World code and downloaded all the Nintendo Online Retro apps, and then I caught a glimpse of Sea of Stars that was 35% off, and I immediately thought to myself that Nintendo could have put Welcome Tour on sale since it was, you know, the launch day of the Switch 2. Makes sense, right? Sell it for maybe $1 so new people who bought the Switch 2 can learn what their Switch 2 can do, but I guess that's okay because Nintendo knows that Welcome Tour is so awesome and you'll be satisfied with it and love it. Anywho, it said that Mario Kart World would take almost an hour, and with a wait like that, I decided to break in the Switch 2 with what else but the $10 Switch 2 Welcome Tour, which takes place in what looks like an arena that people have to pay to attend, just like I had to pay $10 for Welcome Tour. I selected a character that looked like a tan version of Hank Hill, and I got the skivvy about everything the Welcome Tour had, such as minigames, tech demos, a stamp rally, and quizzes. I hope you're ready for an amazing field trip, class. Like Miss Frizzle said, take chances, make mistakes, and get messy. I played for about 40 minutes collecting stamps, playing minigames, of which the couple I did play were admittedly fun for a bit, and of course read exhibitions about how things like the vibration on the Switch 2 works, and then answer quizzes based on said exhibitions to once again feel like I'm a wide-eyed freshman in college that thought he would be a trailblazer someday. You could also talk to people, and there appear to be side quests, such as one where you find and return items to the Lost and Found, and beat the minigame scores of a little ninty fanboy who also paid $10 for the Welcome Tour and would gladly pay $10 3 more times if he could because he loves the Switch 2 that much. Honestly, for what it is so far, it feels more like assigned training that some jobs make you do to learn a new product. I feel like what Nintendo did was originally make this for Nintendo employees to learn about the Switch 2, and then one of the higher-ups got the idea to turn this into a separate game and charge money for it. Astrobot's Playroom on the PS5 did it right and was so good they made it into its own game that won several Game of the Year awards. And you know what? That was free. With how fun that was, I probably would have paid $10 for that than what so far feels like a poorly disguised training module. So after overstimulating myself by collecting stamps, doing minigames, etc., Mario Kart World was finally ready. I booted it up, there is Mario front and center, and the game honestly looks and sounds fantastic. I picked my President Wario, who has never looked better by the way, and I choose the Mushroom Cup and start on 50cc because I wanted to get used to the torture online play would give me later. And we were off and running. It took me a bit to get used to the controls, but with a few turns, it was like I never stopped playing. I get my first item box, and my first item is a Starman. I dominated race 1, place first, and Wario is belly laughing with that crown on his head, and he looks so glorious. The second race starts, and we race to our next destination. I pass a burger joint, pick up a Happy Meal, and Biker Wario appears, looking just as fine as he does in WarioWare, and he even sports a cute little ponytail, I might add. Eventually, Kamek appears, or Kamek, however you say his name, and I transform into a Goomba before changing back shortly after. DK appears to be my main rival for the entire Grand Prix, and after finishing with 54 points, King Wario soundly smokes his competition, and I unlock DK, which surprised me. I then noticed that other characters like Daisy and Rosalina were locked, and meanwhile the baby characters were readily available. So I continued playing for over 2 hours and placing first in each Grand Prix while giving newly unlocked characters like DK, Daisy, and Charge and Chuck a spin. I got to Rainbow Road, and that was so incredible. Once I drove from the third track to Rainbow Road and I saw it, I honestly felt tingles, both excitedly and with with a sense of dread because of what insane obstacles Nintendo might have come up with for this generation's incarnation. For the Special Cup, Pianta was our winner, and then with the Gold Cups collected, the credits rolled. With each Grand Prix completed with gold, I figured Knockout Tour would be a breeze, and holy hell. I didn't think I'd have this much trouble placing first against 150cc computers, but it felt to me like once they get a huge lead, I had no chance to catch up. I placed second on my first try where Conkdor got a huge lead, and at that point, I just could not catch up no matter how many tricks I pulled, no matter how many purple drift boosts I used. It was just impossible to gain up on him because anytime I did catch up to him, I'd get hit with a red shell, or things would happen like if I got close to him and I had a red shell ready to hit him, somebody would hit me with a lightning and I'd lose distance on him some more. Like, it was just impossible almost. After my first try, I tried an additional 2 times and I placed third on both attempts, and I was just like, wow, this is actually really challenging. Maybe I was tired at that point after I played for almost 2 hours. Maybe I'm just not familiar enough with the tracks to effectively win Knockout Tour, but it feels like unless you hit them with an item, you need to be almost perfect on the track to pass them. That means don't ride on the dirt at all, make every jump with a trick, hit every speed boost you could. There is so little room for error here. I thought 150cc Grand Prix were a joke, but this feels like the real deal. After being humbled by Knockout Tour, I decided to play a few online matches as Charge and Chuck. My first course was Bowser's Castle, and in lap 2, I managed to climb to first and had a seemingly comfortable spot in the top 3, and I was holding my own. Then I messed up by falling in lava thanks to using a feather without thinking, and before I knew it, I was caught back in item hell and drove into lava because I was afraid a player's bullet bill would hit me, and I ended up placing in 18th. So not a good start to my online career. I drove around the course for a bit in between races while other players sent pre-made messages like "Go easy on me" and "Hello" and "I'll get him next time," just things like that. Mario Kart Circuit was selected over Wario Stadium, much to my disappointment, and for that race I placed in 8th, so that was a lot better. But in the final race in Boost Cinema, I did even worse than the first race by placing 19th. Yep, just as brutal as I remember it. To close out my first day, I did free roam for a bit and unlocked some outfits. I unlocked some nice outfits like Wario's pirate outfit. He also had an Oasis outfit that made him look like a genie. Daisy also had an Oasis outfit, and Waluigi's biker outfit also looked really cool. And then I was like, okay, I can't wait to see what outfits Charge and Chuck has, and I collected the food and he ate it and nothing happened. So I was extremely disappointed. I kind of wanted to see him dressed as an umpire, I'm not gonna lie. Overall, I'm really enjoying Mario Kart World, with my only comment being the wide stretches of road in most courses can get kind of dull. I guess that's how they had to connect each course, but I feel like they could do with more obstacles to make the races more exciting. And that's why I think Knockout Tour is so difficult, because besides cars and other road obstacles that aren't really hard to dodge on wide stretches of road, there really isn't a lot to shake up the racers besides items. So these are my day one thoughts on the Switch 2. Overall, I'm enjoying it, but I think more titles besides re-releases need to come out for it to be really worth it. I'll also probably do a more in-depth review of Mario Kart World at some point, so if you'd really like to see that or have any other thoughts, let me know in the comments. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to leave a like, maybe even subscribe if you feel so inclined. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.